Gosh, Pat, I should have just called up one of our student performances that we're using for our annual conference. Have a little, I think it's towards the end of the day, we need some rock music going, I think,
That
those,
little jazz
those
band was
performances.
good.
Oh my gosh, Tammy, they were awesome. That was so cool. I mean, I don't know the first thing about jazz music, but that sounded really good. I'll just put it out there.
It could be an opportunity to bring back ABBA.
Just for those of you, I'll let Brad describe that, or maybe Dr. Watson, because Dr. Watson's really knows all about it. But Brad at the ready for every Zoom meeting, he's got an ABBA song ready to go. Whenever you need ABBA, Brad's your man.
I just want to know what it takes to get my own avatar.
I wonder if your avatar can attend an ABBA concert where they are avatars. I wonder if you could do that.
Not like having an easy button.
Right. Okay,
I
well,
don't
Brad
know
and
the
I
first. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Sarah.
I was going to say, I don't know the first thing about Fortnite, but from what I hear in Fortnite, you can attend virtual conferences. So, Brad, maybe you could be like the kids and get into Fortnite. Just a thought.
I will
And
have to
for those
talk
of
to my
you
son.
Sarah's age, for those of you who are not Sarah's age, Fortnite is a video game, I believe, something like that. Talk to Sarah if you're interested.
That's the generation below me, Jay. Okay. I'm too old for Fortnite.
I
Just
don't
want
know.
to set that record straight.
Yeah.
I just thought Sarah just now told Brad join Fortnite so he can get his avatar to go to the ABBA concert. Wasn't that the whole moral of that story?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not speaking from experience. It's just what I've heard.
Well, all I know is I've watched my son die like 20 times in 5 minutes. And I'm like, how do you enjoy this?
Well, it looks like you've got your connection. So there you go.
Okay, so that's just a little peek into what we talk about at KSDE on a daily basis. Fortnite, ABBA, you just throw it all out there. So we're going to get this kicked off. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on a Monday afternoon. I hope this is your last Zoom meeting of the day. I hope this will be your best Zoom meeting of the day. So thank you so much for joining us virtually. It's so nice outside. If we were all face-to-face together, we'd do what we used to do as teachers, right? We're going to have class outside, but we're going to just move ahead, knowing that at 4 o'clock when we're done, you can run around outside and just spend all your time out there. So what a great weekend, right? If you're a KU Jayhawk fan, can you believe it? If you're a K-State fan, yeah, you can probably believe it. And if you're a Chiefs fan, I didn't think they beat the Raiders that bad. They're starting to look like the old Chiefs, right? So obviously they're celebrating some winning this weekend. And today, what we want to do in this time that we have with you is to celebrate redesign. And who better than to celebrate with you all than Dr. Watson, our commissioner, and Dr. Neuenswander, our deputy commissioner. So we're just going to take a few moments of your time. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the stars of the show. Dr. Watson, Dr. Neuenswander.
Brad and I love to tag team these things. So there won't be any reference to Lenny Dawson matriculating the ball down the field. But hey, Wiley, if you guys can hear us over at Wiley, how does a guy get hooked up with some popcorn late in the afternoon? Yeah, just wondering. No one brought that around. Hey, great to see all of you. Wonderful to see all of you. It just seems like yesterday in some ways that Mercury was getting ready to launch, and I'm going to let Brad talk about some of the things going forward. But I remember so vividly when we were putting out the applications for Mercury, Tammy says, Randy, what if no one applies? And we didn't know, right? And then we were overwhelmed. And as you know, real quickly, we scaled up Gemini 1. and to go along with Mercury, and then Gemini, and then of course the Apollo. And so we couldn't be more happy. We've learned so much from you. I know you've learned so much, and the work will carry on. So, but thanks. You're going to hear a lot of thanks as Brad and I go through this today, and we want to take all your questions. But Brad, maybe you can just tell them for sure how that work's going to carry on.
Yeah, so thanks, Randy. Yeah, you go back, and, you know, Randy and I had gone on that tour 6 years ago, and Kansans were very clear about what it is that we wanted. And then in that we were completely out of balance as a state. So here we are, you know, we charged, you know, hired Jay and Tammy to lead this. And I remember they said, well, what's the position description? And we're like, you write it, go write it, but go find some districts that want to look totally different about our system, you know, based on what Kansas said. And here we are 5 years later with over 190 schools and 70 school districts. And the goal was we get to the point where we quit calling it redesign and we just say, you know what, this is just the way we think we ought to be designed. And after 5 years, we want to take the best that we've learned from you, and we want you to keep pushing us, pushing the needle. But Randy and I just finished another 50 city tour, and school districts and people all over the state were saying, we need models. We need to know what it looks like. And we need to be able to talk to someone about how hard but rewarding the work is. And that's what everybody on here can do, is you can help take it to the next level. As we roll out a regional redesign model, we're taking the best that we've learned from all of you on here and going regionally across the state and helping other districts. So you're very much the trailblazers, and you're the ones to be the first to say, let's try this. And we're going to take that and hopefully get you engaged in a region close to you to help some of your colleagues out there that are like, yeah, we need to do something different. It's just messy, hard work, and sometimes kind of frightening. And you can be a voice for a lot of those out there across the state.
I think as I've listened to a lot of you talk, there would be maybe three things that come out in general. One, you know, maybe a lot of you have said, I don't know that we push the envelope hard enough at times. And then some of you said, you know, I think maybe we went too quick in pushing that envelope, and maybe we just we weren't solid when we really want to do that. So I think those are two things that we both learned, maybe pushing that envelope as hard as you can, but really communicate that going forward. And the second is or the third maybe, is that execution. Now, how do we really execute that design? How do we really bring that home and really start to accelerate that student success for kids? And so we'll need your voice going forward, because all of you took a vote of your staff and said, yeah, we want to do this, and you're going to continue to do it. We're going to continue to hold you up as shining examples. But as we roll this into KISA, we're going to have a lot of school districts, of course, come into this, and they're going to go, wait, we didn't vote for this. We didn't take any vote. What are we doing? And you can say, you know what, you can do this. And here's the lessons that we learned, whether that's in Stockton or Neosho or Lawrence or Liberal or Frontenac or Coffeyville, Fredonia, wherever. I'm just, these are the lessons that we learned. And so you will always, I mean, nobody ever forgets, especially if you're a history major, right? No one ever forgets Alan Shepard and John Glenn and Neil Armstrong. In fact, I just read a great article about the lost or the forgotten, maybe, Apollo 11 astronaut, you know, the one that did not set foot on the moon, but circled the the moon, and it was a great conversation about how hard it was on all of them, how they lived their life, and everyone looked at them as models for the rest of their lives. And you will always be that. You took a chance when a lot of people didn't want to, and then a lot of people followed your lead. So thank you. And I think Brad and I would love to answer any questions, Jay or Tammy, that anyone has about the path forward, or we play ABBA songs, whatever you want to do.
Well, thank you, Dr. Watson. I think that if anyone wants to unmute and ask a question, feel free to do that. If that seems a little too intimidating, put any questions you might have in the chat, because you've got them here. They're kind of captives, so you can ask them anything really. So,
Randy and Brad, I have a question from Ottawa, and maybe this is an example of possibly moving too fast, but as we have tried to address our schedule for our high school students' needs, we're beginning to get pushback from auditors, and ultimately being told that the types of models that we're discussing would not result in the same type of funding that we would be accustomed to, and subsequently pushing the schools, not only ourselves, but those that we have partnered with, and trying to develop these types of schedules back to a more normal model to ensure that we don't lose sight of the funding piece that allows us to continue to operate at an efficient level. Is there ever going to be a time when we can sit down with the folks who ultimately audit what we do and try to help them understand more clearly that a different path may be the best way for us to move forward, and that hopefully it shouldn't hinder our opportunity to provide for our kids just because we do it in a different way?
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I do think there is still a role for the redesigned schools past what we've already articulated, which is we've got to be able to do some things on a small scale and audit through that to figure out how to large scale those. Because what Ryan's talking about, we want to be able to do. Unfortunately, if we open that up too quickly, what will happen is some people, I know it's hard to believe, will not really put student success at the forefront, but they'll do it as what's easiest to get the money. And so there's this balance of trying to create creative schedules. And so, Ryan, yes. So let's just sit down. Let's create a small pilot within our redesigned schools that really are maybe running up against that, and we can do it. We're open to doing it. Especially if it's things that we can audit that aren't in statute, and most of those are not. So we'd be happy to do that.
So Dr. Watson, this is Kelly Whitaker, the principal at Ottawa High School. I was going to ask that question before Dr. Cobbs did. So if we are interested in being a part of that conversation, because the next big move we want to make at Ottawa High School, we are running up against some issues with our auditor, and that is scaring us to death because there's a lot of messy work ahead of us, and we don't want to get into it too deep if we're not going to be able to move forward. Do we schedule a time with you? Is that to have that conversation with Jay? Do we need to have those conversations with?
Yeah, Kelly, start with Jay and Tammy, but we certainly will jump in, when it's needed, and at whatever level. I can just tell you that if we're talking about release time for work and release time for internships, I know some people threw that in the chat. The answer is yes. The first thing that I'm going to ask on that execution side, show me it's tied to the plan of study, right? Show me it's tied to the plan of study, and that parents and kids have really bought into that plan. I remember, because I'm old, before, there were video games. We called it Pong and Pac-Man, but that we used to release kids for a half a day for work experience. And I'll give you the example. I was high school principal at the time. All they had to do was have a job. And when I brought those, I remember bringing those juniors and seniors in the auditorium at Concordia and saying, all right, so you're working at Hardee's and you're working at And they said, yeah, we don't want to do that. We're just getting money for our pickup. So we can put gas in the pickup. And I thought, well, that's not really what we're after. So what we're after are internships, job shadowing, jobs related to the plan of study. And that's just an example, Kelly, right? I mean, we can also talk about schedules where how do you count? Can you do things that count a course or two courses? And let's say art and welding, where you get 2 credits, same seat time, those type of things. And we'd love to work those out with you. So great, man. If that's the type of questions we're going to get, that's like high level thinking already on a Monday. That's putting us on our toes. So thanks to both of you.
Yeah, I see Jay's kind of could help coordinate that with Craig and Laurel and their team. Just looking at Don's question here. So our whole goal, and I don't know how many of you remember this, but a while back, you know, KSDE, redesign, our federal requirements around title. It's like those all have to come together. Because we hear people say, well, if I'm doing redesign, do I have to do KSDE? Well, KSDE is just good school improvement, you know? So what we'll be doing is with our agency, we're bringing everybody together that works with schools. Whether you're redesign, whether you're KSDE, whether you help support our TASN network, we're putting everybody together, which includes Jay, Tammy, Sarah, we'll have Jeanette, we'll have Myron, we're just bringing everybody together and say, how do we support? Because the problem we have right now is we only work with volunteers. MTSS, people volunteer for that. Redesign, people volunteer for that. So we've got to pull everybody together, partner with our service centers across the state, and come out to you and just say, hey, we've got the people to do this. We just got to come together and do it together. And we're going to take the best of what we've learned from you, keep moving that forward, keep providing support for our redesigned schools and districts, but at the same time, take what we've learned and serve school districts all across the state around real good, high quality school improvement. And Jay and Tammy and Sarah are going to play a huge role in that. We just need to align our work.
I'll come back to high school, which, you know, is such an interesting beast to change, right? I mean, it's just really, really hard because of how so many things. But we are really strongly looking at what we're calling that transition to young adulthood, which is really that junior, senior year of high school and those first 2 years out of high school. And how do we merge those financially? How do we have multiple jump off points for young people, and you know, and a funding mechanism to do that. So we're really studying that intensely. And so your thoughts along those lines would be welcome also as we continue to push the envelope. Is this when someone, since Wiley couldn't Zoom ship the popcorn, this is where JJ or someone's going to invite us to dinner tonight. So, you know, no pressure there, Myron.
So I see some of the questions in the chat are around what's going to happen to redesign, what's going to happen to the team, what's going to happen, you know, how does it move forward? I know, Brad, you addressed it a little bit. Could you go a little deeper on, you know, the idea of redesign blending into KSDE and how that will look maybe future going forward?
Yeah, so, and I think, you know, Sarah even made a really good point here. At some point, our goal was we learn enough from enough schools and districts across the state that the concepts around personalized learning, student success skills, you know, the redesign principles get to be a point where it's more common than not to be looking at those areas. And now that we're 5 years into this, we want to take what we've learned from all of you really on just kind of the whole process. So if you think about the earlies from the Mercuries and the Gemini 1s to what they went through their first year and into from the plan year to the launch year to what we now support the Apollo 1s, 2s, and 3s, we kept learning and learning and learning, and we want to take the best of what we've learned in that. We're updating the KISA process to align language and really take a lot of those practices that you worked with Jay and Tammy and Sarah on, and building those into just a really good school improvement process that we can go out and help all school districts. And as Randy said, that the big benefit from what you've provided us is you were hungry to go out and do it. And while you were doing that, you learned a lot of things that you might have said, you know, hey, I wouldn't do that again. Or maybe we should have done a better job. Those are a lot of the things that are going to help the next generation. And again, we'll probably quit calling it redesign and just say, this is what we believe it should be designed around. Because we have schools and districts that went out and championed this work, and we will be relying on you as we go out in these regional models. School districts are going to want to hear from you. So we're going to really want to try and get you engaged in our regional model to help some of your peers, because they're going to listen to you more than they're going to listen to me. You know, we can pull levers and make things available and processes, but you all know the closer that it happens to the classroom, the more effective it's going to be, and they're going to want to hear from you. So we're piloting something this year with a handful of districts. We know next year there's 95 districts going through year 5 through the ARC. They'll be starting a new cycle next year. And so our team, from our KISA team to our redesign team to the service center, we're all working together to have a regional model in place. Our TASN folks, MTSS, we're all partnering together to do this, and we're coming together all under one team. So I hope that helps a little bit.
I threw up there those redesign principles, and I think Jay said it right. Those now become our design principles. But the redesign principles and what we're trying to get focused on are those. That's how you redesign this. Think about the school day and the organization of the district. And then it's about hitting and making progress toward those 8 outcomes within that design framework. So it's really trying to double down on those in that process. But those are now not redesign, but design. You know, I just saw, did you guys see this, where NASA and SpaceX are committing to long-term development now of almost colonies on the moon? They want to do long-term study of astronauts on the moon, because that will lead us then to Mars. So maybe I'm thinking about that. It was a long time before we were able to do that, from 1969, but we're gonna shorten down redesign to design. So.
There's a question in the chat. Oh, did you see the question in the chat? Will there be, or are there currently talks between K-12 and higher ed concerning what we're doing with IPSs and redesign?
Yes. So I'm going to take that because there's 2 things going on at the same time that I think will impact that. First, as I announced at the annual conference today, we are spending a small portion of our set aside federal stimulus money from COVID with a group of teachers. Many of you know across Kansas Teachers of the Year and Milken Award winners and Math Science winners. Pat's been there the last several days with them, and asked them to design 3 conferences a year for the next 3 years. Now this year, they're only going to have 2. Teacher-led, all around redesign principles, all around the board outcomes. And we're inviting into that teachers that are in college. So to really talk about that and what we need to do, and that's just one example as they're thinking about how to use those principles and do that. I know that Dr. Michelle Miller is also taking a look at how can we better integrate with higher ed, what we're going to do and what does that look like. But as all of you know, we're still learning from all of you those best practices, if you would. And we're probably, as I said, going to stretch the envelope even more as we go down the road. You're going to stretch it, which will allow us in the subsequent cycles of school improvement for everyone to stretch it again. And I was giving Myron a hard time, but you can only change things so fast in Lawrence, Kansas, right? I mean, there's a limit, right? All of you have a culture, right? Aaron, down in Fredonia, hey, we'll let you change this, but we won't let you change this. And that's what all of you faced during that, wherever you were at. And so now we're going to be okay, what's the next step for that? So yes, we are engaging higher ed in all of these conversations, including professors and teachers that are currently there.
Any other questions? We've got 5 more minutes. Who knows what answers they might come up with.
The one thing I might add while we're waiting is, our goal in the onset was we wanted all 286 school districts to be engaged in the redesign of their systems by the year 2026. And to start, we needed some that were willing to say, hey, we will be first. We'll be the ones out of the gate the first. We'll be that's all of you on here. The only way we were going to get to 286 is that at some point, taking what we've learned and start moving out into a regional model. So if we have 95 districts next year that are starting a new cycle, over 100 the year out. So now we're getting into the year 2022, 2023. We just want to develop a model just like, Jay and Tammy and Sarah worked with all of you to create a model. We're going to start creating a new model, and we're going to take and hopefully get you engaged in helping the next round and cohort, because they need to hear from you, through Jay, Tammy, and Sarah, but also you're going to have, if you haven't already, you'll have colleagues, neighbors out there that are going to want to come and see you and find out what you've experienced, because they're not going to have the answers, and it's going to be a little frightening.
One of the things that we will continue to also ask you is this question that I posed earlier. You all had to have staff vote to do this. Now, you might say, yeah, but they didn't know what they're getting into. Okay, if we did it again, but the KSDE groups will not have staff vote. They're going to do it. They're going to be trying to do this work without at least staff saying we want to do it, and that's a different challenge. We're going from a volunteer model to a compliance model, and that's why we pushed this off as far as we could. We wanted to run as many cycles of redesign as we thought we were still learning from before we took it to accountability, which we are now, because that's a whole nother set of issues that will raise itself. And so I think you can help us even with those type of things, say, you know what, you'll want to think about these things. You'll want to think about these things, and how they're going to have to get staff to buy into their plan, because you know how hard it was even with the vote once you started doing things, and it'll even be much harder, I think, as we get into systems that did not take a vote.
Yeah, and there's things in this new process that we're piloting this year would have never been on our radar and built into this had we not learned it from Jay, Tammy, and Sarah working with all of you. And that was just the ultimate goal. And not only that, but just the importance of knowing your why, the importance of having that scoreboard, the importance of getting it embedded into the culture of the building. And this, it's just that it can't be a top down, that it's got to be supported from all. So all of those things, we're excited to roll it out into a regional model. And so it's going to be great.
When you spend hours on Zoom anymore, which all of us do, I love to stare at your background. So, Dan, I'm looking into your Steam background back there, trying to figure out exactly what that workstation is back there. Looks pretty cool. I want to grab some popcorn and go do that Steam station. That's what I want to do.
Well, it
So
looks
I'm
like our
glad you-
time is about to the end. Do either of you have any closing comments you want to make, and then I'll wrap us up.
Thank you again. Your volunteerism to start this project, and I know it was never easy, and some days it was really never easy. But we thank you. We appreciate it. We've learned a lot from you. You have grown the state of Kansas, and not only your school district, but the state of Kansas, and it will never be quite the same. And so you have been those that blazed the trail, and you know, and again, your names will be synonymous with doing that. And the work does not end here today. It continues, and we'll be asking for your help as we go forward. So thank you.
Well, to wrap us up here, I guess I just want to reiterate that your redesign team is here to support you. The support doesn't stop. We will continue to support Redesign schools for however long you need supported, through PLCs, through coaching. If you get stuck or stumped, you can reach out to your service center, but you can also reach out to Jay or Sarah or myself. We're happy to catch up with you. We're happy to help you think through some of those things that still might challenge you. And we're here to support you however you need. So with that, Dr. Watson, Dr. Neuenswander, you made the initial invitation and the initial call, and we really appreciate you taking time to encourage and just uplift these schools who have been sometimes on that bleeding edge, maybe even faster than the leading edge. And so with that, we just want to thank everyone. Thank you all for showing up here this afternoon. Take care and let us know how we can help. Have a great evening.
And we can't wait to follow back up with our friends in Ottawa and everyone else we need to figure this out with. So thanks.
Thanks, everyone.